Hey, welcome to In the Zone. Dave Delgado here with Mark Colby, the voice and the announcer of Guam baseball, diehard Tigers fan. So let's get to it. Your dad played professional baseball back in the days for the Tigers.
Yes, that's correct. He played, to my remembrance, somewhere in the late 40s, early 50s.
Tell us the story of how you started announcing games here at the Paseo Stadium.
Well, my father played Major League Baseball, and even though I was raised here on Guam, he raised me as a Michigan fan, rooting for the Tigers, the Pistons, as well as Michigan Wolverines. And, throughout the time that growing up, he brought me over here to stadium with my mom, and, we used to watch the games as a kid growing up. I always, had fans and had a cheering squad that I had with me, and we always cheered on our players and our teams. And getting up here to the press box, back in '06, I was still a fan sitting down here above the stands, above the dugouts. And I actually made a comment to the commissioner at the time, Mr. Mark Sharpers, who had somebody that was up in the press box. In all honesty, was kind of mispronouncing some of the names. And, I may be a half Howley, but I know how to pronounce names like Quintanilla. So, I made the comment to him, hey, you know what? Let me try it. And he said, you think you can do it? Go do it. So, '06, the ending, I was up here doing the calls. And in '07, I actually did it, but I was not being paid for it. And I would just show up to the ballpark and nobody was upstairs, so I'd go and do it myself. '08 was the time when I officially started doing the announcing. At that time, Jake Barnes was the commissioner, and he said, we want to do things legit. We want to do things straight up. So I want you to go get a business license. So I actually went down to Reventex and I registered with Reventex with a business license that states baseball announcer. And I found out that I'm actually the first and the only one to this day with a license at Reventex registered as a baseball announcer.
And Guam was without baseball for 2 years because of the field damaged by FestPac. And hats off to Parks and Rec for what they've done to get the field back up to par. For you being the announcer, what was that like for 2 years without baseball and you up there in the booth?
Well, yeah, I'll admit, coming back in the last season, it was kind of shaking off the rust, just like the boys. They found places to play, whether it be the amateur leagues, but with me, I just concentrated on taking care of my mom and working on my other job over at the Hotel Nico Guam. Aside from that, worked on the laptop, trying to get things, if we ever get back to the stadium, to have things ready for my laptop.
And you do a lot in the booth. You're not just announcing the games. You're also updating on Facebook and before you ran live video. Uh, what's the drive behind what keeps you going up there in the booth?
I think it's the players. I've always, idolized ball players like Rico Castro, Richard Martinez. So, locally, I want to try to do the best job that I can as a fan to give back to the game that I love, which is baseball primarily.
And for the fans that do show up and watch the games, you do have times where you put your little twist on it. And for me, it was always 3 balls, 2 strikes, count full.
Yeah, I have a couple of catchphrases that I know over the years has kind of been like a trademark to me. I have one where if the ball is shot over to third and they send it over to first, I call that coast to coast to get the out, which, in essence, from one side of the field to the other. And yeah, the all-time favorite that a lot of people even try to imitate, if you want, I can do it.
Yeah, let's get it.
You're can the batter. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Count full.
And there has to be some interaction. I mean, sometimes baseball is kind of like at a standstill, so fans are just sitting there, and that's the reason why I think being announcer and you up in the booth, you're able to kind of catch the attention of fans that, kind of get lost out there, just sitting there waiting for something big to happen.
Oh yeah, especially whether it be here live at the game or with the Facebook. I try my best to entertain, whether it be with my voice or with the sound bites. I try to cater to the players by playing walk-up songs, cater to them. I actually go through with all the teams, what do you guys want? And of course, I only have certain rules. It can't be used by somebody else, and it has to be clean because this stadium is, we try to promote a clean atmosphere, so we don't want any negative, bad words, to promote out of it.
What are some of the fondest memories you have of baseball here at the Paseo Stadium from maybe childhood to years past?
Well, one thing that stands out is this was probably when I was still a fan, and my Tritons at the time I was attending the university, and I was here cheering on my Tritons. I actually had been in a car accident just on my way to the stadium, and I actually went to the ER, had a cast sling put on my arm, but I still made it over here to the stadium to watch the game. I was a diehard fan, and I brought that same mentality when I went up to the press box. I try to give everything that I can for the players and for the fans. Another one moment that was probably amazing to me was this past January, we hosted the Oceania 18 Under. Now, initially, I knew it was a big deal, but I didn't know that in essence it's like the world, it's like the Olympics of baseball. And I asked, can I do live interaction with the Facebook page, even though it is dedicated to Guam Major League Baseball. I wanted to try to see if I can push this Oceania 18 Under. I got to go for it, and I was actually shocked to find out over the last weekend of January I had over 19,000 views, and I was actually the number one Google search that weekend. Another good memory I have is last year I was asked, and without hesitation, I said I would be more than honored. They asked me to announce the Special Olympics, which was held here at Paseo Stadium back in December last year. And of course, over the years, seen, I've seen no hitters. I've seen a guy hit for the cycle, which is a very rare thing in baseball to hit a single, a double, a triple, and a home run. Just earlier this month, or last month, I mean, we saw a father and a son, Paul Pangilinan for the Rays, pitching against his son on the Junior Nationals, which, checking back with a lot of the other guys, they said they've never seen that before. I've had the honor of being here for game sevens, teams that were down by 10 runs and then coming back to open up a can and just win the game. So every game is memorable.
Yeah, you talk about tradition, and this is probably one of the sports where fathers and sons can actually play together. And it's a lot of families, relatives playing on opposite teams. And I think for Guam baseball, the tradition that goes on, because not only do we have the GML, we have the Masters League, we also have baseball for the younger divisions. Yeah, Babe Ruth. And for you, I think the main thing is just watching these players develop and grow and continue to play baseball at such a older age.
Oh yeah, I actually made the joke that I think I'm getting old because I've been announcing a number of players, and in the past couple of years now I'm announcing the Suns. So it kind of makes me chuckle that I've been here for quite a while now. And according to some people like Sonny Cruz, he was telling me that he doesn't believe anybody else has been the announcer up here at the stadium for more than 10 years, and I've actually been up here for at least 12 that I know of.
UOG just unveiled the Wall of Fame over at the Field House, and I think maybe something that could probably be in the works. There's a lot of talk that things that were going to be done like downstairs behind home plate, a lounge area, which would have been pretty cool because I mean you talk about being able to watch baseball in the comforts of aircon probably and watching it there firsthand and kind of being in the game because you're at home plate.
Oh yeah, the idea was brought up a few years back to the bottom room down below us is currently offices as well as the room for the umpires to walk out onto the field. And it was mentioned a few years back that they were looking at the sponsors to get the use of the room and make it into a lounge. But I don't know whatever happened in regards to that. I know that there's been other options. They've thought of doing a beer garden out in the center field out gate. But it's as far as I care, I'm here for the game, and whether there's a lounge or in the years past with the broken chairs, I'll always love the game. Period, and I'll always love this place.
And what are some of the things you think that can be added here to draw more attention to fans and make it fan friendly for maybe possibly more spectators to come?
Well, when I first started the Guam Facebook page, I thought that might have been the step in the right direction to try to branch out and reach out to other people. I know that I have followers in Vegas and even in Japan, all over the East Coast, California, especially in Seattle. And I've always tried to push and try to promote. And I think I don't think we should be afraid of the technology. We need to embrace and try to use it to our best.
And for baseball right now, currently, there's a few baseball players that have hit home runs. For this season in particular, what are some of the plays that stand out or players that have had success so far this season?
Well, unfortunately, with a losing effort, his team is 0-5 so far. But hey, you know what? Brandon Rosario, kudos. He smacked the first home run, and it was a grand slam in a game. We've had T.J. Leon Guerrero and J.D. St. Nicholas, not one but two at bats in one game, home runs, and that was something that I don't think I recall too. Guam Major League Baseball.
Any father and sons ever hit home runs in the same game?
No, not that I know of. I know, of course, Ryan himself, Ryan Martinez, smacked a home run or two in his time here, and his father, of course, everybody knows the legend, Richard, the grandson of Slam, because he hit two grand slams one year. So, yeah, I don't think anybody's, to my knowledge, has ever hit home run father and son. But like I said, we did have a father and son duo on the mound, and that was something to be, surprised about. That Paul actually took his son and said, "Hey, I still got it."
Off the top of the head, do you remember most home runs hit in a season?
Off the top of my head, I'd probably have to say, I don't think more than three or four. It might have been either Rico Castro or J.R. Haddock, of course. Yeah, I don't recall anybody ever really. There was a year that we had the wooden sticks, and that's where a number of guys who had previously never hit home runs did. When they went to the wooden and then they went back to the metal bats. So, it just depends too on who's playing and how the scenario is.
And for the rest of this year's season, how can people follow and stay in touch with stats or records?
Okay, so like I said, I do have the Guam Major League Baseball Facebook page. You can like us. I do get the stats from our league scorekeeper, which is Mr. Vic April. And as soon as I get it, I do try to tag it and post it on the page. Of course, they are raw, so I do end up going through it and try to make a list so that I get it to whoever, whether it's the media or the players that want to see where their names are on the list. What else did you want?
Let's just talk about predictions real quick. Predictions for the remainder of this year's season, and maybe who are some of the sleeper teams?
Well, you know what? The Rooks may be 0-5, but you never can count the teams out. Like I've said for years, whether it's a 10-0 team or an 0-7 team, the teams that practice, the teams that put in the work, the teams that show up to play, they're going to win games, they're going to win championships. So like in the years past, people were always hating on some teams for winning and their teams not. They shouldn't be upset that a certain team won six straight championships, because that team's mentality was there. They were here 3 hours before the game. They put in the sweat before the game even started, and they won games. They won the championships. And those teams, like the Tritons in the past, they gelled together because they worked together for years and years. You can take a team and put 20 all-stars on it, but if they don't communicate and they don't gel, they're not going to win games. I know the Rays this year, they're bringing back some of the young talent that was there last year that helped them win the championship, like Isaiah Nauta and Yatar. And of course, they have the veterans such as Tony Yatar and John Sarmiento and Dom Cruz. The Royals, they were previously known as the Orioles, who were the team that won the championship in 2015. And they're still a stacked squad with young talent like T.J. Leon Guerrero, who hit a home run the other night. You got teams like the Expos, who, in my opinion, last year I considered them the sleeper. and I predicted that they were going to be the team that was going to, run the ball, and they did. Towards the end of the year, they finally got their ball rolling and their chemistry, and they did not make the playoffs, but they did make it interesting in the end because there ended up being a three-way tie for that fourth spot, and they all had to battle out just to get into the playoffs.
Hats off to my man John Kramer, who puts in a lot of work here at the Paseo Stadium.
There you go. Thank you, John, for all you do. Thank you, sir.
And, and how can people follow you for all the latest for maybe social media?
Okay, so like I said, Guam Major League Baseball, Facebook. I do apologize because at the same time that I am doing the live play by play, I am also announcing here at the stadium. So I really can't answer questions if you send me a message or whatnot. I usually am pretty occupied because I'm also running the scoreboard and doing the musics and everything else in between the game for the players. So, Guam Major League Baseball, I do the live in-game updates, do play-by-plays. I know, shout out to a lot of people in California and Vegas. I know they always follow me, and they're always asking for the live video, but, got to get rights, and currently I don't have the rights to do that, but I will continue to do what I can for the fans and for the players.
All right, well, thanks for coming on the show. Hey, don't forget you can catch me every Thursday, 9 in the morning for Facebook Live in the Zone. Dave Delgado.